time continues its march on, and the golden age of DOS gaming is well and truly here. 1991 saw the release of some massive games with huge strides forward in the PC gaming market. In a year which saw the dissolution of the USSR, the Birmingham Six were released from wrongful imprisonment. Still, there are worse places to be trapped than in prison. Right, Glenn?
The boo box. The boo box.
I'm the Geeky Dad, and this is a history of PC gaming. For the first time in this countdown of the history of PC gaming, we have our first million units selling game, and it came from French developers Delphine Software. Another World sold over 1 million units across multiple systems during the 1990s. This is probably due to its unique presentation and style. This was a cinematic game that had no heads-up display or other interface for the player. Another World's French developer, Eric Chahi, Another World's French developer, Eric Chahi, wanted the game to be told without any language or user interface elements. He wanted the player to simply engage with a cinematic story like they were watching a movie instead of playing a game. Eric, just like the developers of Prince of Persia, used rotoscoping to track the sprite's movement on the screen. The game consisted of a series of screens where players could move the protagonist Lester around. On each screen, puzzles had to be beaten, enemies had to be beaten, and visuals had to be beaten. Another World was a labour of love for Eric, who worked on the game all by himself for 17 months, only receiving assistance while composing the music. This labour of love really paid off upon release, as the gaming press lapped it up. The only real criticism of the game was its length, with some critics feeling the game was much too short. Scoring high 80s to low 90s and plenty 4 out of 5s across multiple platforms, the game was a hit. Another World was a hugely influential title. A year later, Delphine released the best-selling Flashback, which was highly influenced by Another World. The game was also highly influential in Japan. Fumito Ueda, creator of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, stated that Another World was the reason he decided to create Ico. Hideo Kojima stated that it's one of the top 5 games that most influenced him, and Keiichiro Toyama, creator of Silent Hill, said, "The beginning of the game Another World made me feel like I'd really been swallowed and dropped alone onto a vast new world. The scene had such a deep impact on me, and it was at that moment that I first began to consider the potential games had for stirring emotions like fear in the player." By 1991, Sid Meiers was a colossus of the PC gaming world. Microprose had built a name for themselves by making hardcore military simulation games, but in recent years they had begun to branch out into different sim games. Following on the back of Pirates and Railroad Tycoon, Microprose and Meiers released Civilisation. Jesus, I'm not sure I'll be able to condense everything about Civilisation into this video. It's a good job I've got a deep dive series where we take a look at epic games which changed the course of PC gaming history, because Civilisation is very much a game that changed the game. In 1991, we saw the release of the first ever online role-playing game to display graphics. Neverwinter Nights? No, not that one. Was released by Stormfront Studios. No, definitely not that one. There had been other online role-playing games prior to the release of Neverwinter Nights. However, they had all been text-based games. In a time where graphical capabilities were pushed all the time, this truly groundbreaking title managed to get graphical content displayed to the user, showing human players in a persisted online world. Neverwinter Nights wasn't much of a commercial success. The most players the game ever had online was around 2,000, which is dwarfed by even the most modest modern MMO. However, it broke the mould about what could be achieved. The game was highly influential for the 1997 game Ultima Online. It also ushered in a new dawn of what was possible in online gaming. Neverwinter Nights was very similar to other RPGs in the Goldbox series, and Stormfront spent the majority of their time perfecting the online aspect of the game. But it was this familiarity which allowed experienced RPG gamers to take their skills online and to do many of the things modern MMOs allow them to do. Truly, it was a new age in gaming. Rockstar Entertainment, those who are literally swimming in Grand Theft Auto money, had more humble beginnings. In 1991, while they were still called DMA Designs, they released their tribute to mass rodent suicide. Lemmings was one of the few instant hits of the early part of PC gaming. When it was released, it sold 55,000 copies on its first day. It's estimated that during its lifetime, all ports included, that Lemmings has sold over 15 million copies. The game originally started out after the very first employee of DMA, Mike Daly, created a small sprite walking animation. It was cleaned up by fellow animator Gary Timmons, and the team began dreaming up ways of including this character in a game. The level design was made in Deluxe Paint, so all members of the DMA team could help out in level design. Hundreds of levels were made by the team, who were constantly trying to outdo each other. They would try and put in more dastardly traps, more devious level designs, and less ways to complete those levels. Fellow developers Psygonis also playtested levels for DMA. They sent back their playtesting notes to the team via fax. Sometimes the fax would be covered in scribbles and notes, and all things crossed out. Daly said, "This is what we were striving for while trying to design the levels, and it gave us all warm fuzzy feelings inside." The legacy of Lemmings is immeasurable. For a start, it established DMA Design as a legitimate studio. Lemmings and all its sequels gave DMA plenty of liquidity to be able to make different games and expand into different areas. Eventually, they would go on to make a small game called Grand Theft Auto. Also, Lemmings is very highly rated, and have said to have spawned the idea of indirect control, a common feature of modern RTS games. Blizzard's Bob Finch cited Lemmings as a big influence on the original Warcraft games. Also, everybody loves a bit of Lemmings. You can all now play it online in a DHTML version. No, I've got no idea what DHTML is either. So, that was 1991. Were you one of the very few people who managed to play Neverwinter Nights? What about Lemmings? Or do you have fond memories of another world? Please leave me a comment down below, and as always, subscribe if you haven't already, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.